Hello students and welcome to my channel Understanding Biology, and today we will start with the chapter Ecosystem. So before telling you anything about ecosystem, we will be discussing few terms related to this chapter. We will be discussing few terms related to this chapter, and let's start with habitat. What is habitat? Habitat means the surrounding or the place where an organism lives. This means the area or the surrounding where a living organism lives. That particular surrounding is called as a habitat. So habitat provides the food, shelter and also the space to live and reproduce for organisms. Alright, and now we will move to the next term, that is community. Now in a habitat, several species of plants as well as animals live. So these species together form a community. Now let me give you an example of a community. In a particular habitat, human beings also live, and cats, cows, dogs and various other animals are also present. Along means I mean to say that these together, all these species together forms the community. So these are the two terms of related to the chapter ecosystem, and now we will see some more terms. Let's start with the rest of the terms, and the next one is ecology. Ecology is the branch of science in which we study the interaction between the living and the non-living things. Okay, so the living things are called as biotic, whereas the non-living things are called as abiotic. I will give you an example of the biotic and the abiotic components. Okay, so there is a close relationship between the living or biotic and non-living or abiotic components of the habitat. So the study of the interaction between the living and the non-living components is called as ecology. This ecology term was coined by Ernst Haeckel, whereas the ecosystem term was coined by A.G. Tansley. Now children, let's see that how the abiotic and biotic components are dependent, how they are linked to one another. Children, for the process of photosynthesis, you all know that green plants require sunlight, water and chlorophyll, right? So sunlight is an abiotic factor, water is an abiotic factor. We need air. Green plants also need air for respiration. They also need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So we, the living organisms, are dependent on the non-living things, on the non-living components. So this interaction we study, or this interaction together is studied under the branch of biology called as ecology. Now let's see the other term, that is population. So all the individuals of a particular species present in a habitat make up the population. All individuals of a species in a habitat make up a population. Now let's start with ecosystem. Ecosystem is a community of living organism in a given area or a given habitat, interacting with one another and with non-living environment. Children, ecosystem is the interaction of the living organisms among themselves and also with their surroundings. I have given you an example that green plants require sunlight, water, chlorophyll, and these green plants are present in the soil. They require mineral ions also, and all these are present in the soil. So all these non-living things are required by the green plant. Green plant is a biotic component, whereas the sunlight, water and the soil, all these are abiotic components. So all these things are required by a living organism. So you can see the dependency of the biotic component on the abiotic component. Along with this, we are dependent on green plants, we are dependent on producers, and we are the consumers. So here is the dependency of the living organisms on one another also. So you have seen here that the living organisms are dependent on the non-living things like abiotic components like sunlight, water, air, all these things are there, and the living organisms are also dependent on one another. Producers are eaten by herbivores. Herbivores means the green plants eating animals, right? Then carnivores are dependent on herbivores. So all these things are the interaction between the living organisms and also with their non-living surrounding or non-living components. So that together constitute the ecosystem. Now let's see the characteristics of ecosystem. Interdependence of biotic and abiotic components on each other. I hope that this is clear. Now the next is energy flow. Children, when a herbivore eats the producers, means the green plants, the energy is transferred from the green plants to the herbivore. When a carnivore eats the herbivore, then the energy is transmitted from herbivore to carnivore, and this is how the energy flows. That's why we say that the energy flow is a characteristic of ecosystem. Now the next feature is the exchange of materials between biotic and abiotic components. Here I'm going to give you the example of nitrogen. Children, the atmospheric nitrogen cannot be directly taken up by the green plants. So the leguminous plants like the pea plant, these have nodules in their roots, and these nodules contain special bacteria. These bacteria have the capability to take the atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into ionic form like ammonium ion or nitrate ion. And now these ions can be taken up by the green plants. So you can see that the materials are exchanged, right? So material is taken up from the atmosphere now. Bacteria has helped in incorporating the nitrogen content in the plant. And after that, when these green plants are eaten by herbivores, it is transmitted to the herbivore, then to carnivore, and then to the decomposers, and these decomposers mixed all this content into the soil again. So this is how the exchange of materials occurs between the living and between the biotic and the abiotic components.